All right, there we go. I'm going to take out one headphone. I have another one in because it's an audio show. And I'm going to rely on the audience for today's show to let me know if I get my audio mixed up. Because like with most video shows, I have multiple video mixers. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 video mixers in front of me, and the show is going through 4 video mixers, or parts of it will be going through 4 video mixers. Similarly, in order to deliver you the audio for today's show, it is going through 1, 2, 3, 4, technically 5 audio mixers, because I have another audio mixer in front of the video mixer. So if the audio isn't there, if it's, well, do not let me know if it's overmodulated, because that's the point. We're going to be talking about today is specifically all about, it jumped as I tried to click on it to make it go away. Today is all about, wake up, getting the best audio. And there are at least 7 different ways you can screw up the audio, and today I want to go through them so that you can understand the process. And this process, parts of this process can be applied everywhere, but understanding the process and the different steps allows you to focus on going through those steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and going through those will help ensure you get the best audio for your live stream and recordings. This applies pretty much everywhere, because a lot of these steps are, even if you're just going to a camcorder, these steps still apply. So let's take this away. So let me first also go and say, welcome everyone to these live shows. I thank you for being here at these live shows, and I do them live because it gives you an opportunity to ask questions. If you have a question, if you have a specific thing you have had trouble with, if you were in a situation and something didn't work and you would love to talk about that, you can talk to me through the comments on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. I am not on Instagram today because I didn't feel like it. So, and there's almost no audience on Instagram for this stuff that I've been able to achieve after weeks and weeks and weeks, so I'm not bothering today. So welcome everyone to the live show. I am not AI. I am an actual real person in Texas, and I am going to be, answering questions and going through a process today and talking about the steps that help ensure that you get clean audio. I always love to know, where is everyone watching from? Because this is a worldwide, live streaming is viewed from around the world. And if you're watching this after the show, which gets hundreds of views after the show, after live, you should tune in live, because then you get to be part of the conversation, because this is real. We have Bjarn watching from Nook, Greenland. I hope I said that right. Let me know. Eric van den Borgaard in the Netherlands. Boy, real test today. PVE is in Seal Beach, California, and the DNA Project is saying greetings from Germany. Guten Tag. And I've already got one. Bjorn says the sound is perfect. Okay, this is the built-in mic in the studio, and that part is set, but I will be demoing 1, 2, 3, 4 other mics. I have a 5th one here. It just ended up on the table, but I don't think I'm going to get to that one. The process is going to be kind of the same with some variations, and that's why I have, yay! Woohoo! I said it correctly. Thank you. See, like I said, this is a dialogue. We get to have this conversation. If you're new to live shows, understand that it takes about 20 seconds before what I say actually reaches you. So I'm 20 seconds ahead of you. So if you type in something, I might not be looking at it at the exact moment. So William, welcome from Long Island, New York. Thank you for joining us. William's been here for several live shows, so thanks for coming back. And also, the show is about getting the best audio, but As always, if you have a streaming question, throw it in the comments. If I can tackle it, I will give it a shot. I will do my best. If it's something I can demo with what I've got going on, I'll do that. If it's something I don't know, I'm not going to be AI, make stuff up and lie to you. I'm actually just going to tell you I don't know. So I hope you value the fact that there's a real genuine human on this side of the screen. So with that, oh wait, we got another one chiming in. DVP Cricket Live, Oliver from St. Lucia. Wow, very cool. I think it'd probably be very nice right there now. It's going to be up to 90 degrees here in Texas today. But as always, welcome everyone. If you haven't already, throw in where you're viewing from in the comments. And while the show has a topic, feel free to throw other questions you may have into the comments, and we'll see if we can address those. I will say also that today I will be demoing a Zoom LiveTrack. This is disclosure part. Zoom LiveTrack L8. I have purchased this of my own money to for my own use, specifically because it records. It's a USB interface. It gives me different podcast. Let me scoot it down a little bit. It gives me different podcasting headphone outputs over here. It's got sound effects, but I really liked the audio meters. Let's turn. Oh, I can hear that in this here. Never mind. It has audio meters on each channel, which is one of the things that I really, really liked about that. So that's really cool. That's really why I got this, and I used to use a Mackie, but I've moved to this. It's got, and they've redesigned. They've come out with a new one that looks even cooler. But there's nothing wrong with this one. It didn't suddenly go bad, so I just keep using this one. That's mine. I'm using for our test bed today. I'm demoing this on a YOLO Box Ultra. No, yes, Ultra with the 4 inputs on top. And YOLO is a sponsor of the show. Let's see, I got this here somewhere. And if you are interested in purchasing a YOLO Box Ultra or Extreme, they have a special deal where you get a little bit off till the 15th, I think it is. This QR code goes for a couple more days, and then we're going to switch to a new code. So this is live. If you're watching this like a week later, don't use this one. We'll have a different one in the description. Or you could actually use your phone and scan the QR code. So thank you to YOLO for putting this together for me. Little discount if you're interested in an Ultra or an Extreme. I guess technically anything if you're interested in the new camera, because it just goes to the store, but it gives you a discount, and if you help support this channel, i.e. me, for doing these things. Or you could, if you're on YouTube, you could do that cool thing where you actually like sponsor. I don't even know what it's called. Super chat. Super chat. Yeah, that's it. So I'll put that in there and take that out right now. If you want to see it again, you can move the scroll bar back. So this is the test bed. This is what we got going on. And up here, I've got 1, 2, 3 microphones already plugged in. The 3 microphones I have plugged in are a Sennheiser AVX microphone. This is a Sennheiser AVX. And that's going to be like our lavalier test bed. And then I have a, this is just, I don't know, an electric condenser microphone that typically goes onto camcorders. But this is going to be, hey, I see somebody scan the QR code. Thank you for that. Go buy something. Or don't. It's up to you. This is a phantom-powered microphone that typically goes on camcorders, on shoulder camcorders. The mixing board is providing phantom power, so it's like it's a wired microphone, and that I'm going to demonstrate. And then the third one I have is like a desk microphone that you can see sitting here. And if I go to the overhead again, it has like a little base with a push button, but I have it set to be always on. So it just, you know, if you're doing a conference and you have a bunch of microphones on the tables going around the room that people can, you know, can talk into, that's kind of what this is demonstrating. So I'd like to thank the people, and, or if you're doing a public meetings or things like that, that's kind of what this is representing. So I've got a lavalier, I've got a handheld, I've got this. The lavalier is wireless. And the wireless microphone, specifically the Sennheiser, gives you, there's an extra level of challenge that it delivers for you to worry about. And I'm going to see if I can show that. It's going to be kind of tricky because I've got my overhead. Well, I don't know why this is so scratched up. My overhead camera is kind of far, so you're not going to be able to see in here. So let me also, let's see, I got this one. Let me, no, not that way, this way. No, not that way, this down. There we go. And over here a little bit. All right, let's see what that is seeing here. All right, so that is, let's zoom in. Oop, don't get too close. We're gonna use this camera to zoom in to the screen. If I can put it like right here and then tilt to the left, which is down. Oops, a little too much. And zoom in a little more. Okay, you can see right there, the signal's good. It's got a battery, AVX 3502. And one of the key things with these is that you can plug in mic or line here. And that means it is flexible in terms of what you plug into it. So there's a mute switch on top right up here, so somebody could mute it and then turn it on. So now it's muted and now it's on. And it says 16 hours. I'm not going to believe that. In the lavalier microphones, actually this one doesn't actually show, doesn't have a menu. My other analog microphone has a microphone gain on the actual belt pack. And that is the key thing that you're going to have to worry about, because if you're using one microphone for multiple purposes and you clip it here and somebody's talking, that's one volume level. But then if you're also using it for music and it's going to go in front of a trumpet, oh, that's a whole other volume level. Or if you've got a singer with a really loud voice and you've got somebody who talks kind of quietly, and you adjust the input level on the belt pack for the person who's talking quietly, a pastor or something like that. And they talk like this and they're walking around and you really have to understand that these are what and that's his talking voice. Then you're going to need to increase the level here. But then if you've got somebody who's got that big, just powerful voice and they're always talking that way, they're going to hit this and it's going to clip here. You're going to have distortion here. And there's nothing you can do in any later stage to fix it if you don't fix it here. Now, there are some microphones that actually have digital communication between the receiver and the transmitter, and you can tell the transmitter to actually turn down the gain, but you can do it from the receiver. That's really cool. This is not one of them. So that's the first place that you need to worry about your audio levels. You haven't even gotten to your streamer or your audio mixer, and you're already having to adjust your audio levels in a device. And this is the first device that you need to adjust the audio levels, because in many of them, and I made the mistake and didn't test this beforehand, I made the mistake of picking one that does not have audio levels. So if you want, I'll go and get one that does have audio level adjustments, but look at your microphone, read your manual. And if your belt pack, if your transmitter, could be handheld too, if your handheld transmitter has an input level adjustment, a gain setting on the transmitter, that is something you need to adjust for those people who are going to use it. If you don't do that, you have the very good possibility of having a singer or something like that who goes up there and is just belting out a note and it clips in the microphone. And there's nothing you can do if you can't adjust the gain in that microphone in their hand or on their body and bring that input level down. That's the first of them. 2 people scanned. Thank you very much. A question comes in, Eric, the Zoom audio mixer is not a PA mixer. No, this is not a PA mixer. There's no amplifier built into this one. It is solely for internal recording and sending the signal to something else, you know, so I could feed the main outputs to a PA system that is amplified, but this is not a PA mixer itself. This is basically meant as a podcast mixer, so you can, you know, mix all those things, and then it's got some sound effects built in, kind of like a Rodecaster type of thing. But it's Zoom's take on the Rodecaster. But good question. Thank you for that. We had another couple questions come in early. That was the best topic. I have my YOLO box. I'm struggling with mic, but I don't know which one I should use. Which mic is best for you depends on what you want to do with it. You can run a microphone directly into the YOLO box. I'm not doing that. I'm going through an audio mixer, which gives me more control. But you can run a mic directly into the YOLO box. And if it's like a little powered camera mic, the YOLO box will provide the power. And if you feed it into the mic input, it should have enough gain that you can increase it so that that mic is available. In my situation, I'm using this microphone plugged into the camera so that the audio is paired with the video, and then they come together and they follow through the chain that way. That's how I'm doing it. If you come in separately, and as we'll see later, if you bring the audio in separately, it will be out of sync with the audio or with the video. The audio and the video will be out of sync. And we will see that later because my main camera will continue to be the camera that I'm really talking to, but the audio is going to be going through this mixer, then the YOLO box, then this, then that. The video is going to be delayed, so the audio you hear from this part is going to be going through this longer chain, but when I'm speaking to you like this, I'm going to transition to using this audio for demonstration, so the audio and video won't always match. When I edit this video, I'll move it around. Lucky Official says, I have a condenser mic with a Moano card. I don't like my voice. A condenser mic with a Moano card. So audio card. Well, that sounds like it's going into a computer. So, and I'm not familiar with that particular card. So I'm just going to say, I don't know. And I can't help you with that particular card. PVE asks, besides the vertical audio meters on each mic pot, what other features made you pick the Zoom mixer? The fact that it can work as an audio interface with vMix. So I can change the menu system like Rode, and I could have it switch. So I've got I've got 6 audio inputs, and I can have through USB 6 audio inputs coming into vMix. So it has that capability. It has USB capability. It has the headphones. It has effects. It has different scenes. And when I mix, let me just go to the overhead, side by side. When I go to the these other headphones, I could actually have different mixes for these people. So that's one of the key things. And I think Rode added that, but at the time, Rode did not have that. And, you know, they've been updating the firmware. So I've got my master, which is what I'm listening to. And then I've got my A, which is set to master. Or I could bring it down, and then now I can do a separate mix. So I can go to mix A, and I can have mix A do this. And if I push, do I push this? No, I don't push this. So mix A is like that, and then I can go to mix B, and mix B can be, you know, like, so each person can hear everything but themselves in their ear. You know, they don't need to hear themselves. And that could be mix B, and then mix C is everybody but that one, you know, so I can have a different mix per the 3 outputs here. So, or switch it to master, so everybody's hearing the same thing. And then separate audio levels for each one as well. So that's pretty easy. And like you saw, when I am in mix B and I go to mix B, it's showing me what mix B is until I bring this up and take that over again. Now it's where the slider is. So just some interesting features with that. And then I've got a mute on each channel like that, super cool. And I can also select which one I'm, you know, affecting the bass treble effect. and the pan for each one. So I've got this one selected. I can come over here, select, and let's go back to master. And then while I'm here, I can say I can increase the bass, I can decrease the bass, and it's tactile and it's visible, whereas on the Rode, that capability is in a menu system. I could put pads on them right here. In the Rode, that's a menu system. I've got my phantom voltage, I've got my gain settings right here. On the Rode, that's that's in a menu system. So the more tactile interface. I will say that I wish, it's small, so they put one EQ and then you select which one you're doing, which one you're affecting. I'm used to having a bigger mixer where each one has its own EQ, but I get the fact that when you shrink it, you got to move the space around somewhere. Mark, thank you, Mark. Any ideas for getting audio from a house mixer into YOLObox, which is at the opposite end of the venue with no cable option available? There are plenty of wireless audio transmitters and receivers. So if you want stereo, there's not really the same, but you could try NDI audio. That's a new format that's out. You could use Dante over the network, Ethernet network, although Dante I think is kind of expensive just to do a single hop. You got to pay for the license to use it, and then you got to pay for the expensive dongles at either end. There is probably some sort of cabling that's available, but wireless audio is going to be the easiest thing to do. And what you want to do is you want to transmit stereo, probably, from the audio mixer to where you're set up for your live stream. Why, or can you move the live stream part where the audio mixer is? Because if the audio mixer is at what they call front of house, which is usually at the back, so that they could hear what the audience is hearing, that's where I would set up the live stream too. And then that way your cabling is much shorter. But thank you for the question. All right, so continuing along. Now, I've got my audio. I've got my lavalier. And now over here, you can see the lights. Actually, I've got 3 microphones. You can see these 2 go green. This one goes red. And that's because it's distorting here. I don't even have it turned up yet. But the gain input, the gain setting right here tells me that the signal is coming in too hot and it's clipping here. So this is number 2, your input gain setting on the audio mixer. And I could even say there's one up here. Let me take this out for a second. On the receiver, I have an audio output setting. So I can have it, I have it at 3. I can adjust this level before it even gets into the mixer. I mean, so this could be set too hot for the input here. Like I have this thing coming in at line level, but I'm feeding it into a mic level. That's not good. And for those that don't know, let me just do a quick briefing about mic level and line level. 2 completely different things. If you have a cassette deck, if you have a video player, those are coming out at line level. That's a certain voltage. I'm not going to get into the specifics. Your headphone output, when it's all the way up, is technically about line level. Microphone level, the level that comes out of a microphone, the level that comes out of the receiver for a wireless microphone is much lower. So if you feed a mic level signal into a line level input, you're going to barely hear it. If you feed a line level signal, like we had that question here, getting audio from the house mixer into the YOLObox. Let's just say Mark wants to use an audio mixer in between so that he has the ability to vary the level so that if people talking are too quiet in the stream, he can turn it up. If the band is playing too loud, he can turn that level down. So he has another little level adjustment right before it goes into the YOLObox. You don't want it to clip. So let's just say they take the line output, and let's look at my overhead right here. My master outs are XLR. This is going to be line level audio. Here's XLR. These are mic level audio. Very different. So if the audio board sends you line level audio on XLR cables and you feed it into the XLR inputs, you're feeding line level audio into a microphone input, which is expecting a level way down here, and it's going to slam in there. It's like a tidal wave of audio, and it's going to just distort all over the place. You need microphone level audio to go into the microphone inputs. Now, on this one, there's a 26 dB pad on each of these because you might be getting line level audio on XLR or 1/4 inch. These are combo jacks. So I can just sit here and say, oh, you're feeding me my line level. Oh, pad. Done. I got these 2 channels coming in from the house board. Pad. That's great. I've got balanced audio, so I'm not going to get any noise through the long cable run. Now, I also still have an additional gain level here that I could adjust so that there's no clipping, but it's at a good level. But that is very important in understanding the difference between mic level and line level, wherever you go. And that is a standard. I'm not going to get into professional line level and consumer line level. Let's just say line level is a lot louder than mic level. It gets a little confusing very quickly. So let's plug this back in. Now this is mic level output. And we saw that the audio frequency out is at 3 ticks out of 4. So it's coming into here. And there it is. There's the signal, and the signal's too hot. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to the output of this mixer as we demonstrate what clipping is.
All right, here we go. You can hear that the audio is distorting. This is clipped audio. Now, we know it's clipping here because I already told you that. I can turn this down. I could turn it down over here on my YOLO box. None of these other settings are going to fix the clipped audio. You have to fix it where it's clipping. Like I says, if you got a loud singer or somebody singing into a handheld wireless microphone and you got the gain cranked up for somebody who's very quiet and they start singing and just belting out a tune, it's going to clip in the microphone. You need to turn that gain down. I would need to turn this gain down. Then the next step is here in the audio mixer. If I turn this gain down and then bring up the level, now you can hear, oh, my audio is fixed. The levels are the same. I'm still peaking in the yellow here, but the difference is it's not clipping. Like here, I'm not even into the yellow very much, but because it's clipping, turning this down is not going to help. Turning this down is not going to help. Adjusting the level here is not going to help. It's clipping and distorted, and you have to go back all the way to the source and go one step at a time and figure out where it's clipping. The challenge with audio is you can't see it. You can't see, thankfully there's a little red dot here that helps indicate where it's clipping, but there we go. Once I fix the audio clipping here, hey, now all of a sudden I have the ability, look, my audio level is no louder here. It's still peaking into the yellow, and this is where you're hearing the audio from now. So if I bring this down, this is live. And like I said, it's going through the mixer, which is real time. It's coming into here, which is then passing it on to the ATEM, which passes it on to the Director Mini, which then passes it on to the Restream. So it's going through a lot. And this is also showing that you can have clean audio despite the fact it's going through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different audio level adjustments. And if you properly manage it each step of the way, it carries. Clean audio, hand it off to the next stage. Clean audio, hand it off to the next stage. Clean audio, hand it off to the next stage. You can just carry that along. So that is a very useful tactic. You see that this is the microphone that I'm using right here. And this is something that applies all the way along. Now, I'm not distorting here yet. I'm kind of, it's touching into the red. And now you kind of need to be careful in terms of equalizing, because in certain mixers, you can really create, like, if I'm going to put a whole lot more bass in there, now all of a sudden this is going to peak into the red a little bit more because I'm adding more. I'm, in essence, turning up the level, but I'm only turning up the level of certain frequencies. So you need to watch out when you're applying EQ. If you add more, if you go up and somebody's got all three of these turned up, you're basically just turning it up because you're turning all three. What an EQ is for is adjusting a particular frequency. Don't adjust all of them in a certain direction. Like if you wanted my microphone audio to be a little brighter, oh, let me just turn up the top end a little bit so that it's a little crisper. If I wanted to have more presence, now I sound like I'm talking through a Rodecaster because I have that nice little, no, YouTube is not causing the lip sync issue. The lip sync issue is because I've gone back 3 pieces of equipment, and now my audio is passing through this piece, and then the YOLO box, and then the ATEM, and then it goes into the device where my studio mic is. So there's 3 more devices in front of where my studio mic is, and the studio mic is connected to this camera. So I've added other processing before this. When I make the video, I'll shift it when I'm talking so that it matches my mouth. But it's not YouTube. So this is another place where you have to watch out. It's not typical that you're going to clip because you cranked up the bass, but I have seen it. So that's one place to watch. We're going to put those back. And like I said, that when I hit select, that makes this active on this channel. Now here, you could say, oh, well, I just want him louder. And you keep turning it up, and you keep turning it up, and you keep turning it up. Oh, I still need it a little bit louder. I turn it up, and I'm turning it up. Now I can actually hear in my headphones, it's sounding a little bit distorted. And it's probably distorting coming into here. And I don't have headphones on this one because that would be 3 sets of headphones. And let me listen over here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's sounding a little clipped. So you have to make sure that when you're writing your audio levels, you don't just keep going up. There comes a limit in terms of, well, I'm not in front of the guy doing the stream, but I want it louder in the house. So the guy here mixing it for the house just keeps increasing the level, increasing the level, increasing the level, not realizing that it's causing problems for the guy, Mark, who's across the room and looking at the audio levels over here, and now it's clipping. So there's nothing he can do because it's coming from all the way over here. And that's going to be especially important if Mark goes with a wireless solution, in that if it clips going into the input of your wireless device, nothing you can do on your end, on the other end, is going to fix the fact that this is clipping going into this. So you're just adding a potential stage of danger. So there's your output. That you've got this stage where it can distort. You've got this stage where it can distort. And next place is when I output this, I'm outputting line level. I've got this level right here. It sounds good overall. I've got this level right here, but if my output of this going into the YOLO box is too loud for the input of the YOLO box, and I'm going to have to listen on this end, and I start talking like this, I can bring down the level over here, but the problem is it's already distorted. It's coming out too hot, kind of like we just talked about, and coming into an input where it's clipping. So you can't bring this down in a way that's going to fix the distortion because it's just too hot. Just like over here. You bring this down and then bring up your gain on this end, and now all of a sudden you have clean audio again. So how many times we got 1, 2, your output, your gain 3, levels 4, output 5, over to here, 6. It cascades. I'm gonna stop listening to myself with an echo so that I can talk more freely. And that's going to be the case with every audio source. So it doesn't matter if it's a wireless belt pack here. I can shift to my table mic. Hello, hello, hello. So now I'm using this table. Let me move it over a little bit so I can be in the frame. Now I'm using my table mic. Let me make sure this is going through all the way. 1, 2, 3. So now you can hear, if I come really close, it's going to distort. Where is it distorting? Why do I have somebody who wants to lean in and talk really loud so that they get hurt? And you get other people that are going to sit back here. You're going to have different people doing different things with the table microphones. And the person that's talking really loud, thankfully, this one's got a little red input gain. You can see I'm distorting right here. Oh, let me back that down a little bit and then turn up the gain. And now, hey, it's not distorting anymore. I was able to clean it up by starting at the source, which is the microphone right here. There's no gain on this microphone. It's a phantom powered microphone. The sound comes right into the input here. So this is the first place where there's gain with this table microphone. Then I just bring this up until it starts to touch a little bit into the red. 1, 2, bring this down and then 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, right there. So gently touching into the red is like gently touching into the red over here. It's generally going to be okay. I can turn that down a little bit. And by making sure I'm not distorting here, a little bit, distorting a little bit, I'm not distorting here, I'm not distorting here, I'm not distorting here, I'm not distorting here, by working your way through each step. You have to work backwards. It's like, oh my gosh, this audio is distorting, but my level's okay here. All right, let me go back to here. All right, if I adjust this, does that fix it? No. If I adjust this, does that fix it? No. If I adjust this, does that fix it? No. If I adjust my gain, does that fix? Oh yeah, okay, there we go. That got rid of the distortion. And this is especially important going into tablets, because tablets, when you overmodulate into a tablet, some tablets, on iOS, when I was using an iOS-based app, let's see if I can increase this a little bit so that I can not have to lean in so far. When I was using an iOS-based app, it had this really weird way of clipping in that the input audio level would hit, and then the iPad would like mute for a couple seconds and then slowly come back up. So you wouldn't necessarily hear a whole lot of clipped audio. You would hear, and it would come back. And the guy's like, well, what's going on? Like the audio keeps just dropping out. And that was the iPad protecting itself. And there's nothing you can do to fix that. There's no control over that. And some Android tablets may do that as well. Because remember, like the YOLO Box and the Director Mini and these different the OBSBot Talent, these are tablets at their core running Android, and they may respond the same way. So if you're feeding a line input or a mic input directly into these things, and you hear that same boom, and it goes way down, and then it takes a little bit of time to come back up and everything like that. That's happening because your input in the tablet is hitting that peak level, that clipping, and the tablet is reacting in the operating system, not in the app. So that is a distinct feature that you can add to the places where this can happen. Had a couple questions come in. I was having issues with dynamic mics into the Extreme via a cheaper preamp. Terrible noise floor. Bit the bullet and got a Mix Pre 3 bus powered from the YOLO Box port, and all issues resolved. Yes,
Good audio. You don't want to go with a no-name brand for audio because honestly, we call this AV. Remember, audio is first. It's not VA, it's AV. And if you're doing a stream and the image is were to hesitate, and it's buffering a little bit, but the audio continues, people will wait. They will wait for the video to come back. If the video quality drops down because of issues and then slowly works its way up, people will wait. If the audio is clipping and distorted, if the audio stops, nobody's going to wait. They're gone. You lost your audience. So audio is technically more important than video. People get all hung up on, I need 4K video. I'm like, you need good audio. Standard, HD video is good. 4K video, yeah, it's nice. But stellar audio is going to really captivate an audience more so than 4K video, in my humble opinion, because people are watching on tablets and phones and things like that. Some are watching on computers with 4K screens, maybe, or laptops. But if you got a 15-inch laptop, you can go to 4K. Dude, I need glasses just to read the printing on the bottom of these devices. So I'm not going to be able to benefit from going to 4K on a live stream on a laptop. My eyes can't resolve any additional detail. So that's just an example where paying for a good audio mixer is going to benefit you. And I still have a Mackie that I purchased 15 years ago. It's an investment. Audio mixers don't go bad. Audio mixers just keep mixing, and the things that they do serve long into the future. So you're investing, and I don't think I've ever had an audio mixer go bad. Video mixers like, oh, well, this one doesn't do 4K. Oh, well, this one doesn't do the cool new graphics and everything. Audio is audio. An audio mixer from 50 years ago, still going to mix audio. Mix the Beatles, it can mix you. Mark continues, I bring my Rodecaster Pro to the venue every time and use a shotgun mic, which includes the house noise as well as the speakers. Going to bring house mixer into the Rodecaster via wireless. That would be the way to do it. I would just also be a little wary about depending upon the wireless, because like the AVX is a digital wireless and it introduces a very slight delay. So if you have a venue microphone and a digital wireless between the two things, the digital may be slightly behind, especially if you go to the 2.4 gigahertz things, they're going to be even further behind. AVX is faster. It's its own protocol. All the 2.4 gig Wi-Fi microphones, they are going to be noticeably behind. So unless your mixer has the ability to delay your ambient microphone to capture the room to match the delayed audio, I would go with an analog audio wireless microphone so they're both coming in at the exact same time. Wanted to capture the speakers and a little bit of house, so I'll be bringing my own mixer regardless. Yes, and that's actually what I did. Do I have it with me? I have this little 2-channel audio mixer that I brought when I was doing production on an iPad, and that was always, I could bring in house and I could adjust the level of house because it's always different with every house and different speakers at different levels. And I plugged in an ambient microphone to catch the audience, the applause, the laughter and things like that. That was part of what the remote audience couldn't participate in because they're not in this audience. So I had to provide the sound of that audience to the remote guests. And that's something that I really recommend for people who are doing live streams. Have your own mixer. It doesn't have to be as big as this, live track I've got here. It doesn't have to be as big as this. The one I had is just like this teeny little thing. And I brought in house mono and I added, this other little microphone, and that little microphone provided the ambient audio. Hey everyone, thanks for coming. A little bit of applause. And people hear that. And here, let me go get that. Let me bring this. that was the one. So I don't need this. I could have just taken this off, right? Because we're done with the level here, Mike. And this is an example of what I'm talking about. I just had, yes, it's got a little fuzzy on it, but this is like a little stereo microphone from Sony. It comes out into a little 1/8" stereo input. And then I had this little audio mixer, and I did a review or an article about a whole series of little USB audio mixers. I'll put it here. You can see the size difference. It's tiny, but it's fine. I'm using the USB output. It's USB powered, so the iPad actually powered this. I could listen on the phones. I had my, house comes in here if it's XLR, house comes in here if it's 1/4 inch, and I could, add the pad here. I could add a pad here, depending on what I needed to do. And then I had extra inputs for 3 and 4 for my stereo microphone. So 3 and 4 has its own little dial here. My house even has a little bit of an EQ if I need to EQ it a little bit. If I want to mute that, let's just say they're at the podium before the show and they're blah, 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 talking, I can mute it, and I can add an effect. Not that I want to. 48 volts. I don't know how you can pull 48 volts out of a USB to power this thing and the microphone, but it's there. And a very, very basic, meter right here to tells me that I have signal, that I'm peaking, but I'm of course listening to the audio on the iPad so that I can make sure that I'm not clipping it and getting that, weird effect. But this was part of my kit. It traveled with me everywhere when I was producing with that, so that I had my own level, so that when house, depending on who's talking, we would have panel events, and each panel person would hold the microphone. Someone would hold it down here, someone would hold it really close, and I would ride the audio here. I would, up, down, up, down, up, down, and delivering a nice even level to my streaming audience. That's what an audio mixer really delivers, is control of your audio, so that you're delivering a polished audio over here. Eric says, my Behringer audio mixer went bad because I left it running 24/7. It shouldn't. I mean, this is a USB powered audio mixer, and it can be battery powered too. There's, I can put AA's in the back. That's another reason I got this, because I was doing stuff with, iPads. And it's like, well, I have the added flexibility that I can throw this down on the table, either power it via USB, external USB battery, bank, or AA batteries, or whatever. Analog mixers are more hands-on, which I feel they are better. Good advice that audio comes first. If the audio sounds bad, people will leave your live stream. Absolutely. William's over here. William is right. If you're doing church and you can't hear the pastor, you can't hear the message, doesn't matter if you're delivering it in 4K. Does not matter. So continuing along with our audio, you are actually still listening to me the entire time through this microphone right here, going through 1 stage of gain, 2 stages of gain, 3 stages of gain, 4 stages of gain, technically 5 stages of gain, 6 stages of gain, and 7 stages of gain. And you can manage that as long as you make sure each step of the way it's clean. Now, I know those parts over there are clean, so I'm able to mess around with this. I'm able to take this, turn up the input gain, and then all of a sudden, things don't sound as good. You could be a little distorted here. And that's just because it's coming in too hot. And that's kind of the point. Knowing where things are distorting is the key. Understanding that each stage is independent, and everything downstream can't fix what's upstream. So fixing that is what I need to do. None of these other things are going to fix that. Or if I go to, let's see, where's this one? This one is over here. All right, so let us turn this one down. And this one, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Wow. Oh, okay. It still had the the line level when I pushed, when I was talking about line level, it still had the pad on. So here we are with this little condenser microphone that is phantom powered. If I turn phantom, If I turn the phantom power off, you can kind of hear something, but it doesn't work as well. But if I on, now it's powered and is delivering the full audio fidelity. And it's the same thing. If I'm bringing this in too hot, I just needed more. So I turned up the volume here and not realizing that maybe this is set low, right? Or something is set low on the other end. And it's like, well, I need him to be louder. So I keep turning this up so that he's louder and people can hear him, not realizing I'm making it distort, and it's going to distort all the way down the chain. You got to make sure that each of the levels are set properly. That's why there's a gain, indicator here. I'm touching into the red, so I can back that up just a little bit. And then I've got my level on this meter. Again, this is one of the things I liked about this mixer, is that I've got a meter for this channel right here on next to it. It's not up here, and then I got to okay, that's the pink one, and come down here to the pink button, whatever. It's right here. And I can see it's touching into the yellow. Over here, my output is touching into the yellow. And then I've got my output up here, which we talked about before. And then over here in the YOLO box, it's touching into the yellow. So if the stream person has this cranked down and you try to crank it up all over here, you're going to come in way too hot into the YOLO box, and then you're just going to send a distorted audio signal. There's nothing that's going to happen after this fact that's going to fix it, other than turning it up to, unity gain 0, and then going back and eliminating where you're making the distortion. So that is an example. Wait, what's this one? Let's turn this one up. No, not that one. Go away. Yay! He's got sound effects too. I've never used them in a show. So that's an example of making sure that you have each of your things set correctly. And I kind of spoke around it. If you have a phantom powered microphone and you don't have the phantom power on your mixer, or you have like a cloud lifter or some other processor in between, the cloud lifter needs phantom power from the mixer to that device. The mixer provides phantom power from the mixer on the audio cable to the device, to the microphone. And if you don't have that on, and whatever device or microphone is expecting that, it needs that to be powered to deliver, the proper level of audio, and you don't have the phantom power on, then it's going to be too low, and you're going to be like cranking this up. And it's like, God, it just sounds so hissy, so much noise. Well, that's because you've got the gain set so high, because this is not receiving the power it needs to provide an amplified, clean signal. Got some questions coming in. When level switches are set correctly to mic line, clipping is still possible? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because like my YOLO box here, I have it going in the line input, but I could still feed it too much. You can still be way too hot for line input. So it doesn't matter if this is a microphone, this is obviously a microphone, right? It's just a microphone plugged into the mic jack via XLR. So this is set correctly. If I had it line, well, now that was the pad to accept a line level in a mic jack. But now it's mic. But if I still have the gain set too high, I can still distort a microphone depending upon how loud someone is, or how loud an instrument is, or a singer, or a speaker. That can still distort right there. So mic or line is not the sole differentiator of having clipped audio. Getting mic and line incorrect, feeding a line level signal into a microphone level, is pretty much guaranteed to have clipping. But the opposite is not true. If you feed a mic level, if you fed a mic level into a line level input, you would barely hear it. If I fed this microphone into here, which is expected, it says line right there. And I, went up to that input and I said, okay, here it is. It's coming in line. And I tried to turn it up. Man, I would be at the top. You'd barely hear it. And I would be at the top of this, and I'd have to crank that up. And all I'm doing is I'm raising what we call the noise floor. There's a base level of noise, and you want to make sure your signals are hot enough at each stage that the noise floor is still way, 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 way down, and you don't hear it. So that is important to understand, that you're not feeding a mic into a line level, which I've seen people do, because there's microphones that go to 1/4 inch. They're still microphones. And when you plug it into here, you still have to make sure that the pad is not on, because it's a microphone. But then, oh, these are all full, I'll just plug it in here. No, it's a microphone. And it's a mic level, and this says line. I mean, it helps that they say mic line, and this is line level output. The master outs are always line level outputs. Although some mixers do have mic level outputs too. Some Mackies do. Proles says the first one doesn't have a compressor. Actually, I don't think anything here has a compressor. I mean, the microphone, the Sennheiser may have a little bit of compression in the belt pack itself and handle a hot, like a shout or something like that, or yay, like on stage. It might handle that. But if you're going to, put the belt pack, on a trumpet or, a saxophone or something like that. Oh yeah, well, we need another microphone for the saxophone player. Well, here's this microphone thing, and just put it over there. The saxophone is going to be way, 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 way louder than the normal speaking tone that belt pack is probably set for, and it's going to distort in the belt pack itself. It's just going to get audio that is just way too loud. So these don't have compressors. I did have a Behringer that had compressors on the first 4 mic inputs, and that was really handy. I seldom used it. I moved to this mixer, so I kind of lament that this does not have a limiter on it, but that's where I am now. Thank you for the question. All right, so 1, 2. All right, there we go. I switched back to the room microphone that I normally use, just because I didn't want to have to keep leaning in. And I don't need to listen to this anymore. Listening is the key thing. And you can see I have 2 sets of headphones. There are times I have 3 sets of headphones. There are times I have multiple sets of headphones, because I want to hear what's going through the mixer, but then I also need to monitor what's going through the streaming device. You need to monitor at the last stage you can monitor, and I'm kind of doing the show, do as I say, not as I do, because right now I'm not monitoring anything. I'm hoping. But I've done 124 shows. Wait, what is that? Yeah, 124 shows. And so I have this setup kind of dialed in. I know I can look at the meter over there on the Director Mini, because Restream does not give me a meter. I can look at the meter on the Director Mini and say, okay, I can see the audio. It's responding properly. It's where it should be. My audio should be good. But I don't have the ability to, I do have the ability to monitor it, but because these video switchers are syncing the video, there's a bit of a delay, like a 1 to 2 frame delay, and they're delaying the audio to match the delayed video. So what's happening is when you monitor that audio, you're monitoring an audio with a delay to yourself. It's not going to matter if you're just producing. That's not going to matter if you're just producing a show. If you're just producing a show, you can plug your headphones into the streaming device that has the delay and everything, and it doesn't matter because you're just producing and you're watching the video or the multi-view of the streaming appliance or the streaming device, and the audio matches the video because that's all been in sync, especially if you adjusted the sync for a line level audio. We're not getting into sync, we're just talking about levels. But you can monitor the audio and it's going to match the video. Because I'm self-hosting, I cannot monitor that last stage that I have because it comes with a delay from reality and I have an echo. But I always recommend when I'm producing, I monitor, here's my audio mixer. Like when I have this little audio mixer, I monitor the output of this audio mixer because this is in real time. And then I also monitor the output of the streaming device so that I can make sure that the audio level, as far as I can monitor it, is still loud enough that's good, not distorted, not too low. Audio follows video. AV is very important. And monitoring it all along the way is very important. I actually have, let me get one more thing. This is a fun little thing I got just because when I'm doing streaming for other clients and I need to monitor, here's a third thing to monitor as well. I monitor the mixing board. I monitor the streaming device, could be vMix. And then I have a laptop watching the stream online. That's 20 seconds, 30 seconds behind. I need to monitor that to make sure that it's actually being received properly and broadcast properly. How do I switch between all these different headphones? Well, I got this. You can see program, I've got comms, I've got the stream, and I've got the web feed. And I plug in all of those inputs up here. I plug my headphone right here. And this is a physical dumb switch with a very specific feature in that there's no electrical coupling between these switches. When I switch one, my headphone is connected to that. Nothing else is touching. When I click this one, now my headphone is connected to this one and nothing else is touching. And that's important because you can get a ground loop hum, between things that have different power sources, could be at different, AC cycles. And if you start getting different AC cycles in the systems, then you're going to hear this 60 hertz, or if you're in Europe, 50 hertz hum between the devices. You're going to hear noise. And in order for me to plug all these devices into me so that I can hear them, if I plug them all into an audio mixer, well, now they're all coupled together. They're all in here because this mixer doesn't feel the need to decouple and isolate each of these inputs. They all just come in, they all have the same ground, so they're all touching. And that has created, I try to use an audio mixer first, but that creates an audio buzz, and can affect the audio going into, when I'm listening to the audio mixer, now this cable is affecting the ground, between the different devices. And now all of a sudden they're hearing buzz because in this mixer, I'm sending buzz through my headphone connection. And so I added this little isolator, basically. And what this does is it basically gives me the ability to have one set of headphones, but switch what I'm listening to between the different devices, but keep them isolated as well. I can't listen to both. I can only listen to the program, or I can listen to the web. Okay, sounds good on the web. Listen to the streaming computer. Okay, sounds good on the stream, and then go back to the program. I even have comms in here, but I don't think I ever ended up putting comms in here as well. And that's a very important thing to consider as well. What I didn't mention here is I actually added an audio isolator. You can buy these online in between the output of the mixer here and the input here. So this has transformers on both sides. The audio can go through, but they're not electrically touching. So that if this is plugged in here and this has a different voltage because of the cables connecting to other devices that are plugged in other places, I wanted these two things separate. And that's why you didn't hear any buzz, because I've isolated these two things. Just one of the many things. I throw that in as an extra tip. An extra tip, isolation is good. So if you have an isolator, a humbucker, things like that, those are available under $20. And what they do is they electrically isolate the two things. So if Mark was going to, sit down and run wires between his audio board and all the way over to the streaming, and just run them along the thing, and 100 feet, 200 feet, you can do that. That's doable. Just do it once and it's done. But then you might end up, because the board is plugged into a different circuit than whatever you're plugged into, you're going to have different ground levels. I'm not going to get into that. And you could have hum issues. So you're going to need to isolate and decouple those things from each other. Now I have this tiny little one here. I have this tiny little one here that I used for my, DSLRs when I was recording things. I just decoupled them from whatever the house mixer is, and that worked great for that. But I also have, I apologize, I keep walking away. There are professional accessories like this one, and there's dozens and dozens out here. Isolated mic in, isolated mic out, mic in, mic out. So there's a way that you can bring that feed in, and this is passive, but there's a transformer that isolates. You could have these pass right through, or you could bring your mic in and have an isolated mic out up here. So that way you have decoupled the ground between these two sides, and any voltage issues that might be present on the shield of that cable would be reduced or eliminated by, as it says, splitter. Tons of professional products out there. I'm not, these are ones that I've purchased. Nobody has paid me to mention those, and they're not sponsors of the show. But definitely if you start having hum, that's the cause. That is the reason. I was able to clobber KNX 1070 AM News Radio and South A signal bleed by using an inexpensive XLR end device, the Radial Ice Cube line isolator, $70. Yes, and then that's another thing, I didn't mention, but thank you for bringing it up, because if you have nearby RF and you're running 100 feet of XLR cable, it's a wire, and wire picks up signals, and you could have that. So, you need to isolate things. Using balanced XLR is about overcoming ground loop. It's actually not. I have had plenty of ground loop issues going between front of house and somewhere else because they were plugged into two different ground potentials. We ran XLR cable. XLR is about reducing noise, so that, for those who don't know, an XLR cable has 3 pins. Let me just pull this out. An XLR cable has 3 pins, and 1 is hot with your program, 2 is hot with your program 100 degrees, 180 degrees out of phase with this one, and 3 is ground. So you still have your signal and ground, but you've got 2 signals out of phase with each other being sent down that cable. And then when they arrive at the other end, you could have noise. So technically, that 1070 AM news signal is going to be present on both of these cables. And then in the mixer, or the receiving end of a balanced audio signal, what it does is it takes this one and flips it 180 degrees and puts them together. Now, the signal that was out of phase is now in phase, and these 2 signals, these 2 hot leads, couple, and there's your program audio. The noise comes in like this. The noise comes in on those 2 wires in phase, but the mixer is going to now turn the noise 180 degrees out of phase, and the noise on 2 cancels the noise on 1 when you mix the 2 hot signals together. That's what balanced audio is in a nutshell. If you have RF noise on the ground, if you have different ground potentials between different mixing boards and different parts of wherever you're at, that's going to come across the ground, because you're basically, it's a physical electrical wire connected on both ends. And the only way to break the different ground potentials is to isolate those 2 areas. This is what a transformer schematic looks like. So the transformer has a signal on one side and has a signal on the other side, but they don't touch. And the signal passing across this transformer moves across this transformer, but because there's no actual physical electrical touching, the ground potentials can be vastly different, but the signal will go through, but the ground potential won't. So that way, you can use balanced signals and still have hum issues, but the balanced audio is supposed to get rid of what you more encounter with unbalanced cables, which is, picking up stray noise and signals and things like that. Those are supposed to come in on all the cables, and then when the mixer flips the one over and puts them together, that news radio is supposed to go away. So I think that kind of wraps up the discussion with regards to audio mixing and the many different ways many different stages you have to pay attention to where you're doing the audio mixing so that you eliminate any sort, you've got good levels at the start in the microphone, good levels coming into the mixer, good levels in the mixer itself, good levels going into the next device, and no stage is too loud and no stage is too soft. So I hope that helps. If you are new to the channel, go here. If you are new to the channel and you are watching on LinkedIn, Twitch, or Facebook, everything is over here on the StreamTek YouTube channel. Stream Technology with a K on YouTube. That's where you can find everything, all the live shows, all of the videos, interviews, vertical tips, studio tours, although I haven't continued that very much. All of those things are available here for your perusal on the StreamTek channel. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit the bell, do all those fancy things. And hey, eventually I hope to get memberships up, because Patreon never kicked in. So I hope to get memberships up. So if you do like this, feel free. That's how you can support me. I also write for Streaming Media Magazine, so you can see some of the articles that I've written there. A review of the BirdDog X1, Blackmagic Design Micro Studio Camera 4K Generation 2, Magewell Director Mini 3.0, and the all-in-one production live streaming devices. That's a look at all the different all-in-one live streaming solutions. And I will mention again that today's show is being sponsored by, not sponsored, but, assisted by the YOLO Box Ultra. And if you were interested in getting a YOLO Box, please use this fancy QR code or this link, bit.ly 45NZSFU, whatever, it's just short. Or use your phone and scan this QR code, and that will take you to the YOLO store. You will get a discount for following this code, at least till the 15th of August. If it's after the 15th of August, I'm going to update the description with a new code. Or you could scan the QR code. You get a discount, and you help support this channel, which would be great. Thanks. And continuing along, I'll take that off. I also, if you need to do consulting, you can reach out to me at streamtek.us, and there's a little contact us right here. You can reach out to me. So if you have an in-depth, this is what I'm looking to do, this is what I have and everything, I need to get better video. Okay, that starts the discussion. My audio is not working. Okay, let's start the discussion. That's what the consulting does. And then continue along. I also do the B4 on Micro Four Thirds group on Facebook. So if you want to put a big hunkin' broadcast B4 mount lens on a Micro Four Thirds camera or other cameras, that's why I do that there. And I also have done a group for Teradek AirMix, which is a free app. Why are you jumping? A free app on iOS that lets you mix multiple cameras. It's basically a live production, all-in-one live production studio on an iPad. It uses iPhones. And if you're watching this show right now, I actually have a whole 7-camera kit, AirMix based, that's available for under $1,000. So if you're interested in that, feel free to go to StreamTek and click the Contact Us page. And that will help you get up to speed. It's all of the gear, the cameras, the powering cables, the 10 output charger, more than a dozen lenses, cases with screw-on mounts for the cameras, and gosh, all the power cables, the iPad, the wireless connectivity for everything. It's all included. So you need to learn AirMix, and you need to know how to set up an iPhone. That's on you, but that's free. So, but it's all the hardware. Put in the time, and you get everything else. And another plug for my sister. She's got this 17secondsstudio.org, and she does some really cool artwork, so you can go check that out if you're so inclined. This is one of her 3D things, and various very cool. I don't even really know how to describe it, but I have one on my wall, and I find myself looking at it and just looking into it, and experiencing it. And they're very deep. Many of them have lyrics, so you'll find some of these with lyrics, and when you click on the page, it'll have the lyrics on there, so you can read what it says. And so, feel free to check them out, 17secondsstudio.org. So, and that's going to be it for me today. Thank you all for being there. Once again, my name is, let's see if that comes up. Yay! Anthony Brocus. I'm the Chief Gearhead here at StreamTek. And as always, thanks for watching.